Welcome in, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you guys are doing well and hope you had a good NFL Week 5 weekend. So, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. We're going to take a look at all the games, or most of them, see who won, which players played well, and just some things that stood out in this week. So, we had this week kickoff on Thursday between the 49ers and Rams. So that was a good start to the NFL Week 5 action. Also, some other things we're going to talk about: the two undefeated teams, the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. They both lost this weekend. So we don't have any more undefeated teams in the NFL. And also, we got a big matchup on Monday Night Football between Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs versus Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, we got a lot of good stuff to take a look at and talk about. Before we do jump into that, I would like to mention that on my YouTube channel, I create content about money, sports, and personal topics with the goal of bringing value to other people's lives. So if you guys find value in this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. All right, let's jump into NFL Week 5. All right, guys, so we kick things off on Thursday with Thursday Night Football. It was a pretty good matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. So it was Mac Jones, who's in for the injured Brock Purdy for the 49ers, versus Matt Stafford of the Rams. So pretty good quarterback matchup there. In this one, the 49ers pulled out the win 26-23. The 49ers are 4-1 on the season, and the Rams are 3-2. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. For the 49ers, Mac Jones, he went 33 for 49, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. McCaffrey had 57 yards rushing, and their wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne, had a really good game with 10 receptions for 142 yards. And on the Rams side, Matt Stafford went 30 for 47, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Williams had 65 yards rushing, and Devontae Adams had 88 yards receiving. So both of the quarterbacks had really good games. They were both over 300 yards passing. They had 5 total touchdowns between them. So it was a good quarterback matchup game to watch. And in this one, it went to overtime. So both of the teams played really well. And in overtime, the 49ers were able to get a field goal and get the win. So it was a good way to start NFL Week 5. The 49ers are 4-1. They're first place in their division. Disappointing loss for the Rams, but they're still, 3-2, pretty good record. So just a minor speed bump for the Rams. And I enjoyed watching this quarterback competition. Wanted to see Mac Jones play for the 49ers. He's played really well ever since Brock Purdy's injury. So I think Mac Jones is definitely helping his career out, where he might get a starting quarterback job at some point in the future. So he's taking the most of the opportunity that he's given. So good job by Mac Jones in this one. And for the Rams, Stafford, he always has a good game. He's one of the more exciting quarterbacks to watch in the NFL. So always throwing the ball down the field. He's got Devontae Adams, Puka Nakua. So even though they lost, Rams are still a very good team and they'll be just fine. So that's it for the Thursday night football game. All right. So the next game we're going to talk about is the international game that played in London. So this was the Minnesota Vikings and Carson Wentz versus the Cleveland Browns and Dylan Gabriel. So this was the second week in a row that the Vikings are playing an international game. So last weekend they played versus the Steelers in Dublin, Ireland, and they stayed over there. And then this weekend they played in London. So I thought that was pretty interesting for an NFL team to play 2 weeks in a row internationally. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. So let's take a look at the game leaders on this one. So for the Vikings, we had Carson Wentz go 25 for 34, 236 yards, one touchdown. Justin Jefferson had 7 receptions for 123 yards. And for the Browns, Dylan Gabriel, he went 19 for 33, 190 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And their tight end, Njoku, had 67 yards receiving with 1 touchdown. All right. So the quarterbacks played pretty well in this one. Nothing too great, but just solid games by Carson Wentz and Dylan Gabriel. Um, the reason I want to talk about this game is just talk about the Cleveland Browns a little bit. So they made a change in the starting quarterback lineup. So they benched Joe Flacco and they started their rookie quarterback Dylan Gabriel. So I'm sure he's gonna get a few more starts. So he played pretty well in this one, like nothing too amazing. So just kind of an okay game. So we'll see if the Browns keep losing. I'm definitely curious if they're going to put in Shador Sanders in a few weeks, and that way, during the season, we would have seen all three of their quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shador Sanders, and gotten a picture, who their future is at the quarterback position. So even though the Browns are one of the worst teams in the NFL, just their quarterback situation is interesting. So they're definitely a team I keep on my radar. For the Vikings, a nice win in this one. They bounced back from their loss against the Steelers last week. Carson Wentz is playing well, but JJ McCarthy should be back in a couple of weeks. So I'm sure they're going to start JJ McCarthy again, even though Carson Wentz is playing well. But, if Carson Wentz keeps winning, there might be a quarterback competition there with the Vikings. So we'll see what happens with these two teams. So the next game we're gonna talk about is the game between the Denver Broncos and the Philadelphia Eagles. So this was Bo Nix of the Broncos versus Jalen Hurts of the Eagles. So in this one, the Eagles went into this one as one of the two undefeated teams, along with the Bills, and they suffered their first loss of the season to the Broncos, 21-17. So I think this was a bit of an upset, but the Eagles had to lose at some point. So why not in this game? So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. All right, so for the Broncos, Bo Nix, he went 24 for 39, 242 yards with a touchdown. Their running back, Dobbins, had 79 yards with one touchdown, and Cortland Sutton had 99 yards receiving. For the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, he went 23 for 38, 280 yards, two touchdowns, zero interceptions. Saquon Barkley had another bad game, six carries for 30 yards. So that's very strange for him relative to last season. And their wide receiver, Devontae Smith, had 114 yards receiving. So, what to say on this game? So, I mean, these are two of the better teams in the NFL. Denver Broncos, they have a solid quarterback in Bo Nix. They have a really good defense and a really good head coach, Sean Payton. Um, for the Eagles, I'm not sure what's going on with the Eagles. They're just playing really strange this season. So they were 4-0 going into this one, but even with that, it just looks like they have a lot of issues on their team. So as far as their quarterback, Jalen Hurts, he doesn't really throw the ball down the field that much. Their wide receiver, AJ Brown, they don't utilize him like they should. And also Saquon Barkley, he's not rushing like he did last year, so his yardage is way down. So I mean, on all three levels, the quarterback, wide receiver, and running back, they're all having a really bad season this year, but somehow the team is 4-1. So just a strange team, honestly. But what's keeping the team good and what's consistent for the Eagles is the defense. You can definitely count on them each and every week. So I think the Eagles will figure out their offensive issues. I think Jalen Hurts is going to expand more on his passing game. He's going to start to pass more to AJ Brown as the season goes on. And Saquon Barkley, he's going to eventually get things going. So as long as the Eagles work those things out on the offensive end, um, they're going to be fine. And I think they will. You know, it's a long season. They don't want to show everything like early in the season like this. So they'll be fine. Their defense is always good. So just a little strange start to the season for the Eagles, but they're going to be just fine and probably still the best team in the NFC. But Detroit Lions right there as well. So we'll see if the Eagles improve going forward. That'll be something to keep an eye on. All right, so we had a game between the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. So this was CJ Stroud of the Texans versus Cooper Rush of the Baltimore Ravens, who was in for the injured Lamar Jackson. So this was a pretty big blowout, 44-10 for the Texans. They're 2-3 on the season. And the Baltimore Ravens, who are supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL, they're 1-4 on the season. So another bad loss for the Ravens. I mean, their starting quarterback is out, so you know it's understandable, but nonetheless, the Ravens are having a very bad season so far. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders on this one. For the Texans, CJ Stroud, 23 for 27, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, zero interceptions. So an amazing game by CJ Stroud. He's kind of struggled a little bit this season, but in this specific game, he played really well. And Nick Chubb had 61 yards rushing with a touchdown. Christian Kirk, 64 yards receiving. Let's jump over to the Ravens. So their quarterback, Cooper Rush, he went 14 for 20, 179 yards, zero touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So very bad game by him there. Derrick Henry, only 33 yards rushing. He had a touchdown. And Zay Flowers had 72 yards receiving. So very bad game by the Ravens in this one. So, I mean, I know their starting quarterback is out. Lamar Jackson has a hamstring injury, I believe. But, he doesn't play on defense. So their defense, you would think, should be able to carry the team, on some games. But the Ravens defense this season has played really bad. I mean, they have big names on the defensive end, but they're just playing really bad right now. So the Ravens are known for having usually one of the best defenses each year, but this season that is not the case. And with Lamar Jackson out, their offense is struggling. So 1-4 on the season. So not looking good so far, but in the NFL, things can change in just a week or two. So if Lamar Jackson comes back, their defense picks it up a little bit. They get, a couple of wins in a row. They'd be, 3-4, 4-4. So they would be right back in the mix. So they definitely dug themselves in a hole so far, but I'm confident that the Ravens will dig themselves out of the hole. I'm not going to bet against Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. So that'll be definitely interesting to watch if they turn things around or if things just keep going this way. So I'll definitely be keeping the Ravens on my radar and see if they actually do turn this around. All right, so we had a pretty interesting game between the Tennessee Titans and the Arizona Cardinals. So this was Cam Ward versus Kyler Murray. And in this one, the Tennessee Titans finally get their first win of the season. They improved to 1-4, and the Cardinals, they dropped to 2-3. So kind of an interesting game just to watch Cam Ward play and get his first win. So let's take a look at some of the leaders here and how Cam played. So for the Titans, Cam Ward, 21 for 39, 265 yards, zero touchdowns, 1 interception. Their running back Pollard had 67 yards rushing with a touchdown. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley had a good game with 131 yards receiving. So just kind of an okay game by Cam Ward. The yardage is pretty good, but he didn't have any passing touchdowns, and he did have 1 interception. So just an okay game by him and his first win. On the other side, for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 23 for 31, 220 yards, zero touchdowns, zero interceptions. Their running back, their Mercado, had 81 yards rushing, and Marvin Harrison Jr. had 98 yards receiving. All right, so just something that happened in this game was the running back for the Arizona Cardinals. He had a pretty amazing run. He was about to score on a 70-yard run that he had, but just before he gets to the end zone, he kind of celebrates a little too early and actually drops the ball before getting into the end zone. So those plays are just like devastating just because it's such a big swing in the game. Instead of getting a touchdown, you're like turning the ball over to the other team. So it's such a big swing in the game. And it's kind of weird to watch these plays because these players in their heads, it looks like they're in the end zone. So mentally, they think they scored because the end zone is right in front of their eyes. But like physically, the actual football never crossed the end zone with him having the possession. And before he drops it, so it's actually a fumble. So these plays are just very interesting to watch, and like they keep happening regularly. So we'll see if that trend keeps going. So just a couple more things on these two teams. So it was nice to see the Titans get their first win of the season. Their quarterback Cam Ward was pretty emotional last game, and he was saying just how much the team needs to play better and that it was unacceptable in his post game press conference. So it was nice to see them get their first win. And for the Cardinals, they're just kind of an okay team pretty much like every year. So nice little game to watch in this one. So now we get to talk about probably the best game that happened over the weekend. So this was the matchup between Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield versus Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold. So high scoring game, two solid quarterbacks, and this game definitely did not disappoint. So the Bucks get a big win. They come back and they improve to 4-1 on the season. The Seahawks dropped to 3-2. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. So Baker Mayfield for the Bucks, 29 for 33, 379 yards, two touchdowns, zero interceptions. The running back White had 41 yards rushing with two touchdowns. The rookie wide receiver Ibuka had a huge game, seven receptions, 163 yards with a touchdown. So he's just having an amazing rookie season, and I think he's definitely helped the team out with Mike Evans being out and also Chris Godwin being in and out. So the Bucks have some really amazing wide receivers on their team. For the Seahawks, Sam Darnold, 28 for 34, 341 yards, four touchdowns, one interception. Their wide receiver Smith and Jigba had a good game with 132 yards, one touchdown. So both of the quarterbacks had really good games, over 300 yards, multiple touchdowns. Wide receivers had over 100 yards receiving. So this game was full of offense, full of fireworks, and I definitely think it was the best game to watch over the weekend. So, what do I want to say about these teams? I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they just keep winning. They're not the most talked about team in the NFL, like the Eagles are, like the Lions, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, and so on. They're just kind of a quiet team that wins all the time. So I think my hometown team, Tampa Bay Bucks, are the most dangerous team or one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. I love how Baker Mayfield is playing. He's like an undersized quarterback, but he's got so much like hustle and attitude in his game that I just love it. They got amazing wide receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Ibuka. So they're one of the most exciting teams to watch. Their defense is, pretty good every year, so that's not a worry. So I don't know. I don't know. I think the Bucks again they kind of always run under the radar, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go all the way this season to the Super Bowl and represent the NFC. So keep up the good work, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For the Seahawks, another good game by Sam Darnold, even though they lost. Um, the Seahawks are a really good team. They're also kind of under the radar as well. People don't talk about them. So I think these two teams are very, very similar. So I'm not surprised that this game was this close. And it was very entertaining to watch. So we'll see how far these teams go and if they end up being like one or two of the surprise teams of the season. So a team that I love to watch and I think is the most exciting team in the NFL, or one of them, is the Detroit Lions. So in this one, they faced off with the Cincinnati Bengals. So it was Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions versus Jake Browning of the Bengals, who's playing for the injured Joe Burrow. So pretty good game to watch in this one. Another big offensive outing by the Lions. They scored 37 points and beat the Bengals. In this one, they improved to 4-1 on the season. The Bengals are 2-3. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. All right, for the Lions, Jared Goff, 19 for 23, 258 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Very good game by him. Rushing yards, David Montgomery had 65 with a touchdown. And their wide receiver, St. Brown, had 8 receptions for 100 yards. For the Bengals, Jake Browning, 26 for 40, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jamar Chase had a good game, 6 receptions with 110 yards with 2 touchdowns. All right, so this was a good game to watch just because the Lions are honestly like probably the most entertaining team to watch. Um, on the offensive end, they have so many weapons. Like Jared Goff is playing really well. He's got probably the best defensive line in the NFL. Um, his wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, is having an amazing season. He's one of the leaders, if not the leader, in touchdown receptions. The Lions have two amazing running backs, David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. And also their tight ends are very good as well. So the Lions look really good. And also their defense is really good. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Detroit Lions make it to the Super Bowl. I love their head coach, Dan Quinn, and just what he represents and how he handles the team. So I have only good things to say about the Lions so far. Um, for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow out. Their backup, Jake Browning, is having a hard time. Um, so it's just kind of unfortunate for the Bengals. Their season is going pretty bad. They had high hopes to start well early in the season, but with Joe Burrow out until December, we'll see if they can kind of stay competitive and keep things afloat. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals might be done for the season. And just for the Detroit Lions, what I loved about the game was the pass that David Montgomery, the running back, had, and he got a passing touchdown. So that's why I love the Lions. Like they play very solid and conservative most of the time, but then they'll just kind of surprise you with a very fancy like offensive play, and they're just a very exciting team to watch. So we had a nice game between the Washington Commanders and the Los Angeles Chargers. So this was a game between Jaden Daniels and the Commanders versus Justin Herbert and the Chargers. So in this one, the Commanders get a win 27 to 10. They improved to 3 and 2 on the season, and the Chargers fall to 3 and 2. So good quarterback matchup here. Um, the Chargers, I believe, started the season 3 and 0, so they've lost the last two games, so they're kind of back to earth after everybody thinking they were the best team. And the Commanders, after struggling early in the season, they're back on the winning side. So good little game to check out. Let's take a look at the game leaders on this one. So for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, 15 for 26, 231 yards, one touchdown. The running back, Krosky Merritt, had 111 yards rushing with two touchdowns. Wide receiver Debo Samuel had 96 yards receiving with a touchdown. And for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, 22 for 29, 166 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Herbert also ran for 60 yards, and Keenan Allen had 58 yards receiving. All right, so not the best offensive game from the Chargers from what we're used to. Um, Also, Jaden Daniels for the Commanders. He just kind of had a solid game in this one, but still a good game to watch. These are two young quarterbacks in the NFL who are the future of the leagues. So Jaden Daniels is having another good season after his rookie season, which was one of the best ever, if not the best. So they had some early struggles in the first couple of weeks, but the Commanders are looking good again, and they're going to be one of the better teams in the NFL this season. Um, the Chargers, like I mentioned earlier, they started off really hot in the season. They got that first big win over the Kansas City Chiefs in Sao Paulo, Brazil, the YouTube game. But last couple of games, they haven't played as well. Two of their main offensive tackles on the offensive line are injured. So that's definitely going to be a big dent in the team going forward. So we'll see what the rest of the season looks like for these two teams, but they're still very good teams. Both should make the playoffs. The quarterbacks are really good. So we'll see where these teams end up. So, next, we're going to talk about the Sunday night football game, and it was a good one. So, we had the New England Patriots face the Buffalo Bills. So, this was Drake May of the Patriots versus Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. And these two teams are in the same division, so this was definitely a big game. The Bills were 4-0 going into this one of two undefeated teams, along with the Eagles. So, as we mentioned earlier and saw, the Eagles lost. And also in this one, the Buffalo Bills lost to the Patriots 23-20, and they're 4-1 on the season. The Patriots are 3-2. So, no more undefeated teams in the NFL after week 5. And there's definitely not a super team this season, so anybody can really emerge as the best team going forward. So let's take a look at the game leaders in this one. New England Patriots, Drake May, 22 for 30, 273 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So a solid game there. You want to see some touchdowns, but nonetheless, he had good yardage and his completion percentage was good. So nice game by Drake May. Stephon Diggs, the former Buffalo Bill, he played against his former team. He had a really good game, 10 receptions, 146 yards. So that was also kind of an interesting storyline to watch in the game, to see how Diggs would play against his former team that didn't want him. And for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, 22 for 31, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also ran for 53 yards. And tight end Dalton Kincaid had over 100 yards receiving. So just kind of a solid game by Josh Allen in this one. Nothing too bad, nothing too great. So he played solid. So what do I want to say about this game and these teams? So I think this was probably the biggest upset of the week. I think a lot of people were expecting the Bills to get a win in this one, since they were the home team and they have the better quarterback. But Drake May for the Patriots, he really stepped up, had a good game. Um, he didn't have mistakes. So I think this was a very impressive game by Drake May. Um, I definitely think the Patriots have found their long term solution at the quarterback position. And I think the Patriots might be the biggest surprise team of the season. I can definitely see them getting 10, 11 wins and making the playoffs. And I think that would be double the wins that they had last year. So they might be one of those teams that goes, from worst to best from one season to the next. So things are looking up for the New England Patriots. I love their head coach and Mike Vrabel, so I think he's the perfect fit for them. So I think the rest of the season is going to be good for the Patriots. Buffalo Bills, still one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best. They got to lose some games, right? So why not this one early in the season? I think this is just a minor bump in the road. They're going to be just fine. Josh Allen is going to be just fine. So just this was just one of those games that it wasn't their best showing, and the other team was just a little more hungry, and the Bills, lose the game. So That's pretty much all I want to talk about on the Sunday night football game. We have an amazing game on tonight for Monday night football. It's going to be very exciting. Two of my favorite quarterbacks to watch in the NFL. So we're going to have the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes go against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So very, very exciting game here. Two very exciting quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be slinging the ball all over the field. He's got Xavier Worthy back. So I expect a very good game by Mahomes in this one. A lot of offense for the Jaguars. We got Duval in the building. So Trevor Lawrence. I definitely want to watch a full game of his. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. I just like his game. Um, their running back, Travis Etienne, he's had some amazing runs this season so far. So this should just be a very offensive game. Should have a lot of fireworks, hopefully. All right. So just as far as who I think is going to win, I think the Chiefs are the better team with Patrick Mahomes. So my expectation is for the Kansas City Chiefs to win, but I will be rooting for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. I think they definitely got a chance versus the Chiefs. So expectation is that the Chiefs will win. Hope is that the Jaguars will win. Let's see here the win probability here on the right. 63.8% Chiefs, Jags 36.2. This one is in Jacksonville. All right, so yeah, it's going to be a really good game to watch, and let's go Jags. All right, so before we wrap things up, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings in the NFL after week 5. So we'll start with the AFC, and let's go to the East Division. So we got the Buffalo Bills 4-1. They should win that division. Patriots in second place, playing really well, 3-2. And third place, Dolphins and Jets in fourth place. Those two teams are not making the playoffs. AFC North is really interesting. Going into the season, the Baltimore Ravens were the favorite to win the division, but with their bad play and injury to Lamar Jackson, they're 1-4. They're in third place. Similar story with the Bengals. They're supposed to be the second favorite team in this division, but with the injury to Joe Burrow for multiple months, I don't think they're gonna win this division. They're 2-3 and second place. And the team that I'm rooting for, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're in first place, 3-1. So they got very lucky that those other two teams are having serious problems and that the Cleveland Browns are not very good and don't have a good quarterback. So I think the Steelers will stay in first place, but I think the Ravens will eventually catch up to them and probably overtake them by the end of the season. But it'll be interesting to watch, and I'll definitely be rooting for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. AFC South, Colts are playing really well, 4-1 in first place. The Jags are in second place, playing well. The Texans are right there, so there's going to be a three-team competition there in this division to see who's going to win at the very end. And the Titans are not very good in fourth place. AFC West, Chargers are a really good team. Broncos as well. Kansas City Chiefs, probably the best team. They should win this division at the end of the season. And the Raiders are not going anywhere this season. Let's jump over to the NFC. In the NFC East, Eagles first place, 4-1. Commanders are in second place. They're playing better. Cowboys with Dak Prescott, he's playing really well. They're 2-1. Giants are 1-4. They made that quarterback change to Jackson Dart. So we'll see if that pays any dividends. But yeah, this division is kind of hard to predict. I think the Eagles will win it, but the other three teams are very similar. NFC North, Detroit Lions, first place, 4-1, playing really well. Green Bay Packers, 2-1-1, second place. So the Packers were playing really well to start the season. These last few games, they've kind of cooled off. So we'll see if the Packers start playing really well again. Vikings and Bears, they're just kind of hard to predict. So I think they are the third and fourth best teams in this division. NFC South, Tampa Bay Bucks, first place, 4-1, playing really well. The other three teams are not very good: Falcons, Panthers, and Saints. And in the NFC West, 49ers playing well with their backup quarterback, Mac Jones. They're 4-1. Seahawks playing well with Sam Darnold. Same thing with the Rams and Matt Stafford. I think the worst team in this division is the Arizona Cardinals. So we'll see who makes the playoffs at the end of the season in this one. Maybe the top three teams, all three of them, but we shall see. All right, guys. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for NFL Week 5. If you guys found value in this content, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.